Honorable Men Discord. Aisha Howard is paid in full. Let's talk about it. So, to be very clear, it's actually not confirmed that Aisha Howard is paid in full. What we have is a rumor that Anthony Edwards is trying to, with the courts, pay in advance, pay 18 years in advance worth of child support. The number that's been floating around out there is $1,000,000, $1,080,000 is what he's trying to pay in advance for child support. Which don't hold me to the math, but they say it's about $5,000 a month is what he's looking to pay for that baby girl that he has. But any event, this is a complete spectacle, okay? Because what's being said is that Anthony Edwards is telling the courts he had the baby, or he conceived the baby in Atlanta. He's claiming that Aisha is she's trying to act as though she lives in California with the hopes to get a bigger payout. This is what Anthony Edwards is allegedly saying, right? Aisha, I believe, has been providing documentation that she does in fact live in California, but I don't believe the courts is leaning in her direction because, again, Anthony Edwards said that the baby was conceived in Atlanta. And the Anthony Edwards attorneys, I'm sure he has great attorneys, they're just looking at the fact that why all of a sudden she's claiming to live in California when they conceived the baby in Atlanta. But regardless of the fact, this episode is not so much about Anthony Edwards. But this is definitely not going to glorify his actions. I'm not here to condone the things that he allegedly said as far as he doesn't want anything to do with the baby. He just wants to do the payout and be done with it. But on the side of me, just to be completely clear and concise, the word deadbeat has been floating out there when it pertains to Anthony Edwards. So the question is, before we get back to Aisha, is Anthony Edwards a deadbeat? And by definition, no, he's not. Especially if he's willing to pay the full amount for 18 years. Because by definition, deadbeat says says one who persistently fails to pay personal debts or expenses. All right. You see it right there beside me. I'm going to exit that out. All right. So by definition, Anthony Edwards is not a deadbeat because he never said anything about not paying. Now, one thing that was said between correspondence between him and Aisha earlier on, before the child was born, was that he did not want the child. He actually wanted her to have an abortion. Of course, she didn't want the abortion, which is fine. She has that right. They're two adults. They have the right to voice their opinions. She has the right to say, well, no, I want to keep it. And he has the right to say, I don't want one. Right? Now, being that she decided to have the baby, he's making it clear, I don't want anything to do with you. I don't want anything to do with the baby. And he doesn't even want to entertain future proceedings if she should try to up the child support. Right? So he's, right now, I want to believe in the negotiations with the courts, trying to pay out that $1,080,000. Now, no, he's not a deadbeat, but I don't have the word for him, and I'm a fan of him on the court, by the way. I am a fan of him. I own his jersey and several of his shoes. I must admit, I'm not here to act as though I don't own his sneakers. All right, but he's not a deadbeat by definition, but in defense of that baby, he's a piece of work. I'm going to leave it like that. Anthony Edwards is a piece of work. And anyone who's saying he's not a piece of work is a piece of work also. Okay? Here's the thing. I get it. You don't want to have the baby. I believe he has 2 to 3 other kids with other women. But for some reason he doesn't want this baby. Maybe because of the little bit that he started to learn about this woman who also has a child with little baby, he probably said to himself, I can't possibly have to deal with this woman in the future. He may think that she's unworthy of his presence. Whatever it is, he just doesn't want this child because he's had child by others, right? Um, and he has that right. But now that we know that the baby is here, to say you don't want anything to do with the baby, he's a piece of work. And that's just me putting it nicely for YouTube. He's a piece of work, right? Um, that baby didn't ask for any of this. And as far as the blame game goes, I'm pretty sure there's women taking her side, or she didn't do anything wrong. I'm sure there's men taking his side. I'm gonna say it like this: it's both their faults, because this could have been resolved with just by using protection. This the whole thing wouldn't have came about if they used protection, but of course not. No one's using protection. Everyone, they want it the way they want it. So when you want it the way you want it, you obviously know, and he obviously knows from having children before, that this was a possibility. Listen, every man, and that he's 23 years old, but he's had children before. So I'm speaking to those men that have several children floating around. You can't act as though you don't know this is a possibility when you're running around enjoying life, going to parties, whatever it is you're doing, meeting up with different women. You can't act as though a female getting pregnant is not a possibility, right? So then when it happens, you can't then turn around and act as though like, hey, I want no part of it. Well, you did it. No one else did it. It was you and that person that did it. All right. Now, yes, Anthony Edwards has the right to say he doesn't want any part of either one of them. I just think he's a piece of work for saying that, making that public, because unfortunately for the daughter of his, she's gonna grow older. She's gonna get older, I should say, and this information is out there. It's public information. She's gonna unfortunately come across some of the things that he said, and it's unfair to her. She didn't ask for this. Hopefully for her, if he remains in with this way of thinking and he stands on what he said, hopefully, Aisha meets someone that will step in and be a father figure for the baby girl, because it's unfortunate for her in all of this. She's the one that's losing in this. Aisha's not losing. As far as my thoughts on Aisha, I don't know too much about Aisha, but I don't think there's much to know about Aisha. I mean, she's attractive, yes, but I saw some images from her Instagram, and it's typical 2025 activity from Aisha. Aisha, you could just swap out the names. I mean, this is what a large portion of this generation is doing. So, all right, well, you can say she has fake breasts. You can say she has a fake ass. What else is new? All right, I mean, what else is new? What is her talent? I mean, if someone knows of Aisha's talents, please let me know that in the comments. And I'm not even being funny. This is the world we live in. I mean, beautiful face, or with the eyebrows done up, hair, whether it's her hair or it's a weave or extensions, the breast being done, if she has a fake ass, if it's a real ass. At the end of the day, how is this different from anything else that's on social media? So there's no, listen, these NBA players, I don't know. NBA players, the rappers, all of them. First of all, I'll be honest with you, I don't understand how these entertainers end up with the same women, because, I mean, they're not doing any research. I'm pretty sure someone was aware that she had a child with little baby, and whether or not she's involved with little baby anymore, it's like, for me personally, I don't want any connections to anybody else. Now, she could be connected to another guy, but not someone that's out there in entertainment. That's just my personal thing. And you might say, well, what's the difference? What's the difference is the media attention and the spectacle. I don't want to be with someone who is in entertainment. I'm in sports. She was with somebody in entertainment. It's just a circus. I don't want a circus. Yes, the likelihood of a female not being in previous relationships is slim. They're out there, but I don't think there are many. But Anthony Edwards getting with someone, having a baby by someone who has a child with an artist, you know, I don't know. I just wouldn't want the spectacle, but I have the tendency of implementing myself in a lot of these episodes, but I just have to be real. I try to put myself in the thinking of some of these people that I speak on, and I just don't get it. I'll never understand why Anthony Edwards would say something about not wanting anything to do with a baby, because even if I had an illegitimate child, I'm never going to say that I don't want to be in their life once, especially when they're born. I mean, he has opportunity to change that statement and say, listen, I said that before the baby was born, but now that the baby's here, I absolutely, want to be a part of that baby's life. And he has an opportunity to say that. I don't know whether or not he has said that as yet. If he did, then by all means, someone let me know in the comments if that's been updated. Has Anthony Edwards had a change of heart in respect to his baby girl? If he has, I applaud that. If he hasn't and he just wants to just pay it out and be done with it, he's a piece of work. And I stand on that. He's a piece of work. Great basketball player, but he's a piece of work. One thing I must note, though, in the way life works sometimes, and this kind of how should I put it? This kind of connects with the episode I did on The Grass Is Not Greener. We have to appreciate, first of all, we have to be grateful for what we do have and stop worrying about what we don't have. But we have to appreciate the fact that we're blessed. And one of my first videos when I started this channel was, I believe it was called Blessed. And I was just walking in the street. But the reason why I'm saying that is Anthony Edwards recently had 2 incidents whilst playing basketball. One game against the Suns, he bumps into Kevin Durant, which is pretty much his idol, the guy he looks up to, right? And he was seen on the court, holding his head or holding his nose. I think, he hurt his nose. Kevin Durant's arm, I think, hit Anthony Edwards' nose, and he was laying on the floor in pain. Then recently, again, he took a 3-point shot from the corner, and I don't remember what team it was against, but this was recently, this week. He takes a 3-point shot from the corner, steps back, and I guess twisted his ankle on one of the, I want to say assistant coaches or someone from the coaching staff that was walking by, if I'm not mistaken. It was either someone who was walking by from the coaching staff or was one of the players' feet. But in any regard, he injured his ankle. Why am I bringing this up? When you are so bold to say, I don't want nothing to do with this woman, as if like you were forced into having intercourse with this woman, right? When you so quick to say, I don't want nothing to do with the woman, the baby, I just want to pay. Just understand that you've been blessed to be able to make it to that point where you made it into the NBA. There's a bunch of ballers out there that people revere as nice, that play street ball, that will never be able to make it into the NBA. Right? So you were blessed to make it into the NBA. Not only did you make it into the NBA, but no, you're not a player that's off the bench. You're a starter. Not only are you a starter, you're an all-star. Not only are you an all-star, but you were just recently in the Olympics in Paris. Where am I going with this? Your blessings can disappear like that. Your blessings could be gone, right? And the way you just want to just chalk it up like, oh, I paid the whole $1,080,000. I want to be done with her. But then you want to love on the kids that you choose to love on. But the one that had nothing to do with the interaction you and Aisha had is going to be neglected. Listen, your blessings could disappear, right? You have money now, but your money could disappear, especially if you're not making the right, business investments for your future. And that is directed solely to Anthony Edwards when I say that. Your blessings could disappear. So by you neglecting your daughter because you don't like the mother, careful. Because we all on national TV saw you hurt your ankle. Remember, you're playing a sport. And I'm not wishing this on Anthony Edwards, right? So don't get me confused when I say this. But your blessings could disappear. Your money could diminish. Careful, Anthony Edwards. But as far as Aisha's concerned, regardless of the fact, regardless of what you think of what type of woman she is, yes, she's paid in full. Because whether he pays it outright, that $1,080,000, or he has to pay it month by month, she's good. And she knows she's good. Because she doesn't only just have his baby, she has little baby's baby. But let me get into this clip from Aisha speaking on it.
I've also come to realization that there are just certain allegations that I will never, ever beat with you guys. I came into this situation with the status because I have a child by a very successful artist, right? From then, I'm viewed as a certain type of woman because I'm beautiful and I have a nice body. And normally women like that attract a certain caliber of men, which is also not my fault. And now that I am in yet another situation where I now have a child with another successful man, there's no telling you guys that I'm not a gold digger. You guys, it's no beating those allegations at all. The only thing that irritates me is I read comments that say, oh, you're a gold digger, or you kept the baby for a check. What if I came to y'all's pages, right? And I compared the men that you have children with to the men that I have children with. And I said, you were digging for poverty when you picked him to be your baby daddy, weren't you? Oh, you kept that baby for an extra income tax credit, didn't you? Or you kept that baby for a couple...
I have to pause it real quick. Aisha's cooking. I'm sorry. I call it like I hear it. She's cooking. She has a point. So, and the fact that she's cooking, I co-sign what she's saying. She has a point. But like the video that I made on The Grass Is Not Greener, again, we need to be focused on what's in front of us, what we have, rather than what we don't have. And we need to be focused on the person in the mirror, right? Because we do too much of worrying about what other people are doing. Again, this is a podcast. I'm reporting on it. I'm discussing it to make a point. It's trending, and there's something that could be learned from this. That's why I'm reporting on it. But aside from that, it's like, at the end of the day, I respect what she's saying. Never mind, if I think she's a gold digger or not. At the end of the day, the reason why I'm not gonna bash her is because it took two individuals to make this baby. So I'm not about to lean in on her and talk down on her, because if I am gonna do that, I have to also lean in on Anthony Edwards, right? Regardless of how nice his sneakers are and how nice he plays on the court. At the end of the day, he's a piece of work for making that statement, where his young daughter is going to grow up and have to hear about that statement that he made. But there's always an opportunity to turn that around for him. Remember, I mentioned that. There's always an opportunity for him to turn that around and say, he said that in the beginning, but he regrets saying that because that's not right. If he makes a statement cleaning it up and he actually means it, then all is fair. But let me continue.
Extra $100.
All is forgiven, not all is fair. All is forgiven.
In food stamps, didn't you? Or you kept that baby for an extra Section 8 voucher. Is that why you kept your baby? Now, if that was triggering, that's how I feel every time somebody says, do you?
And oh yeah, she's allowed to say that because that's the thing. Everything she mentioned is a thing. So, those of you who are bashing her, hold that. Especially the women that may be bashing her, hold that. Because what she's saying is valid.
You even love that baby? You kept that baby for a check.
Listen, there's nothing else that I want to or have to say on this. It's cut and dry. It took two adults to make this child. So both adults are responsible, for raising that child. Point blank, period. I don't care, how you look at it. I don't care if you're men bashing her. I don't care if you're female bashing Edwards. Just like with the Cardi B episode that I did, this is between them two, And at the end, I'm always gonna wish for the most the most pleasant outcome, the most cordial outcome for the little girl. That's all that matters. Everything doesn't matter. Whether she's getting an extra bag in addition to little babies, that doesn't even matter. It doesn't affect my pocket. So honestly, I really don't care about it. The numbers that they're throwing out there is just disgusting. For Anthony Edwards to be able to just say, listen, I just want to pay this $1,080,000. Listen, I have work to do for myself, my own pockets. I don't have time to get too caught up in this. I mean, yes, it's an interesting thing when you hear stuff like this being mentioned in social media, but I have no stake in this. This doesn't help my pockets. The baby matters in this. The baby matters. Forget me. Forget the outside noise. Anthony Edwards and Aisha need to work this out for the baby, however it works. Whatever is necessary for it to work, for that baby and that baby's growth, they need to figure it out. And that's my take on it. If anyone has anything to add in the comments, as always, I'll be there to interact. And I appreciate all of you for tuning in. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next episode.